Welcome to this video where we share a profound journey of self-discovery filled with surprising realizations about happiness. This is a story about understanding and maturity and an important discovery. Happiness is always within reach if only we see it with the right perspective. This journey begins at a stage in life full of challenges and reflections on the true nature of happiness. Many of us have spent a long time searching for happiness from external sources such as work relationships or accomplishments in life. However, the truth is that happiness is not something that can be found from external forces. It is a state of being that comes from within ourselves. Over the years, life has taught us invaluable lessons. Looking back, it's undeniable that happiness is not something we can buy or find in distant places. Happiness doesn't come from things or grand achievements, but from how we feel about ourselves and the present moment. This change doesn't happen overnight. It is a long process of self-exploration, failure, and learning. Yet once we understand the essence of happiness, everything changes, opening up a fresh perspective on life. So what is true happiness? It is not fleeting moments of joy or the excitement of achieving a goal. True happiness is a deep sense of peace, satisfaction with what we have, and the ability to cherish every moment of life. This can only be felt when we learn to live with ourselves, accept and love what has passed, and embrace what is present in our current life. This story is not just about personal experiences, but also a reminder for all of us that happiness is not something we must endlessly search for. It is a mental state that we can nurture from within. The most important realization is that happiness has always been there, waiting for us to recognize and embrace it. Happiness is not a destination, but a journey, a way of life, and a daily choice. Life sometimes leads us astray in relationships, work, or endless goals. We get caught up in the cycle of material pursuit, success, and seeking recognition from others. But in these busy moments, we often fail to realize that happiness can be found in the simplest moments of life. Those moments might be when we're sipping a cup of coffee in the morning, hearing the laughter of a friend, or sitting in a park in the afternoon, simply enjoying the fresh air of nature. This journey to find happiness is in reality a long journey. It's not a sudden change, but a continuous process of changing our perceptions and how we face things in life. Each of us can discover that happiness is a journey, not a destination. Happiness comes from changing how we view life rather than always seeking external things. At the age of 55, a great change occurred. It was then that the realization about happiness completely shifted, no longer seeking it outside, but learning to look inward and realizing that happiness has always been present in life. That moment revealed that it's never too late to change, to find peace in the soul, and to live a fulfilling life. From those quiet moments in life, a clear truth emerged. Happiness is not something distant, nor something you have to wait to get. It is the peace in your heart and the calmness in each step of life. And happiness is not a state we must rush to find. It is an awareness and acceptance that what we have now, the moments we are experiencing, are enough. It's easy to get swept up in the fast pace of life and forget the value of each moment. But if we stop for a moment and reflect, we'll realize that happiness is not something we have to search for forever. It's something we can feel and embrace right now in our current lives. We don't need to achieve great things. We don't need to seek distant things. All we need to do is recognize and cherish the beautiful moments in life and be true to ourselves. In this video, we will explore this journey of realization, the challenges we have faced, and the valuable lessons on living fully and finding happiness right in the present moment. Whether it's age, work, or relationships that have changed, we can still create a meaningful and happy life simply by changing how we perceive and live authentically with ourselves. This journey is not just a personal exploration, but an invitation for all of us to realize that happiness is not something we have to wait to find. It's something we can create today from the simple things in our daily lives. Happiness has always been inside, and it is waiting for us to recognize it and nurture it in every moment of our lives. Happiness is not a destination. It's a state of mind that we can experience right in the present moment. Sometimes we get swept up in the busyness of life with all its worries and pressures and forget that the simplest moments are where true joy lies. It's only when we stop and reflect, when we look at life from a different angle, that we realize happiness has always been around us. When I was younger, I searched for happiness in accomplishments, in work and relationships, and in the goals I set for myself. I thought happiness only came when I achieved something great, when I succeeded in my career, when I had enough money and material possessions that I believed would perfect my life. But after many years, I realized that these things only brought temporary joy, and that joy quickly faded as I continued searching for the next bigger thing. Happiness, I realize, doesn't come from what we have, but from how we feel about what we have. Happiness isn't a goal we need to reach, but a journey we undergo, a way of enjoying the present and feeling each moment. One beautiful day, when I stopped and sat in the park, breathing in the fresh air, I felt a sense of peace within me. That feeling didn't come from anything external, but from what I had inside. It was a profound peace I had never experienced before. I understood then that happiness is a choice, not something we must constantly chase. It's a state we can choose every day. When we change our perspective, when we shift our thoughts, we begin to see that life is far more beautiful than we once thought. The small things, the simple moments we often overlook, are the key to unlocking happiness. By constantly chasing after goals and material desires, we unknowingly overlook the spiritual values that life offers. Happiness isn't something we can buy with money. It's something we feel from what we already have in the present moment. We can be happy simply by living authentically with ourselves, loving what we have, and appreciating every moment. Only then can we truly experience peace and real joy in life. For me, this change didn't come from breakthrough moments or big life events. It came from small changes in how I live and how I face life. When I stopped seeking happiness from the outside and started looking within, I realized that life is not lacking. It's just that I hadn't been looking at it the right way. I no longer chased after distant things, but learned to find happiness in the simple everyday things. This journey to finding happiness isn't a straight path, but a continuous process of self-discovery. It requires patience, acceptance, and self-love. Each of us can find happiness if we learn to look within and change how we live. Happiness is not something we need to wait for, it's something we can create right now. Happiness is a state of mind, a choice we can make every day. At the age of 55, I realized that it's never too late to change, to live fully, and to find peace in the soul. Life may change, people may change, but the important thing is that we always have control over our emotions and thoughts. Once we realize this, life becomes much lighter, no longer heavy with worries about things beyond our control. When I began to live with a peaceful heart without comparing myself to others, I felt a deep joy in every moment. I no longer felt lacking or anxious because I knew that everything I needed was already in my hands. Happiness isn't something we need to seek far and wide. It's something we can find right within ourselves, in how we live, how we love, and how we accept life. Every day when we wake up, we can choose happiness. Happiness is the peace in our hearts, the acceptance and love of what we already have, and the satisfaction with what we've achieved. When we stop running after distant goals, we will feel the peace we've always been searching for. It's only when we live authentically with ourselves, when we love ourselves, that we can find true happiness. The journey to finding happiness is not a race. It's a life fully lived in every moment. Happiness is not a destination, but a journey we can start today with the simple things in life. Remember, happiness has always been inside, waiting for us to recognize it and nurture it in every step of our lives. Happiness is a topic we hear about frequently throughout our lives. Everyone has a different understanding of happiness, but what stands out is that it is always tied to our inner feelings and the harmony between ourselves and the world around us. Happiness is not something that can be measured by material possessions or external achievements. It is not a destination we need to reach, but rather the journey we undertake, the way we live in each moment, and the way we perceive ourselves and life. Many of us have likely spent a significant part of our lives seeking happiness from the outside through work relationships, big goals, or material possessions. We pour all our energy into achieving these things, thinking that when we obtain them, life will be perfect and happiness will naturally follow. But in reality, happiness is not something we can find outside of ourselves. It is something we can feel from within, from how we face ourselves and what is happening in our lives. One of the most profound realizations I've had on my journey of searching for happiness is this: happiness is not the end goal, but a process, a state of being that we can choose every day. Happiness comes from the peace within our souls, from being content with what we have, and from appreciating the simple yet precious moments in life. When we are younger, we often set large goals, hoping that when we achieve them, we will be happy. But when we reach those goals, we sometimes find that we don't feel as we expected. Happiness becomes elusive, and we continue searching for the next big thing. It is only when we realize that happiness is not something we need to search for, but a state that we can choose every day, that we begin to understand it. Looking back at the years gone by, I realized that true happiness comes from accepting and loving what we have, not from seeking what we don't. This change didn't happen overnight, but was a long process of self-discovery, learning from failures, and changing my perspective on life. Each day offers an opportunity for us to practice contentment, gratitude, and self-love for ourselves and the people around us. This change in perception about happiness is not easy. We will have to face old habits and expectations that have been built up in our subconscious over time. However, once we start to reflect and change the way we live, we realize that happiness is not something we must search for externally, but a deep feeling that comes from within. When we learn to live authentically with ourselves, when we begin to appreciate the present moment, we see that happiness has always been there, waiting for us to recognize and embrace it. There are times in life when we will face challenges and difficulties we could never foresee. However, it is precisely these challenges that give us the opportunity to grow, to understand ourselves better, and to recognize the true values of life. Difficult moments are valuable lessons, helping us reassess our lives and learn to accept and move forward. One of the most important aspects of the journey to find happiness is learning to let go. We often get too caught up in things that don't matter, in pressures that society or others place on us. But happiness only comes when we learn to let go of those invisible burdens, when we take a moment to reflect on what we have. We don't need to race against time. We don't need to prove ourselves to anyone. We just need to live truthfully with ourselves, love and care for ourselves sincerely. When we learn to let go of unrealistic expectations and worries about the future, we will find life becomes lighter. We will feel peace in our hearts, and from that happiness will naturally follow. Happiness is not something we need to wait for. It is a choice we make every day. It's the way we face life and the challenges life throws our way. There's something I've realized throughout this journey. Happiness is not something we can gain from external things. Happiness is a feeling we experience from within, a harmony between us and the world around us. We don't need to have everything to feel happy. We just need to learn to appreciate what we have, live with gratitude, and love ourselves. This change in perception not only brings happiness to ourselves, but also helps us create meaningful relationships with others. When we live with peace in our hearts, when we love and respect ourselves, we will naturally radiate positive feelings toward others. And it is within these relationships that we find even more joy and happiness. We are often swept up in life with relationships, work, and endless goals. We search for happiness in distant things, in material possessions, and forget that happiness has always been right here within us. Happiness is accepting what we have, living in each moment, and being thankful for the life we have. When we learn to live authentically with ourselves, when we appreciate the present moment, we will see that life is not lacking anything. We don't need to have great achievements or reach distant goals to feel happy. All we need to do is realize that happiness has always been there. We just need to open our hearts and embrace it. So what is happiness? It is the peace within our hearts, the appreciation of the simple moments in life, and the way we relate to ourselves and the world around us. Happiness is not a destination. It is a process, a way of life, a choice we make every day. And only when we learn to live truthfully with ourselves and love ourselves can we truly feel the happiness we are seeking. Remember, happiness is not something we need to search for. It is a state we can feel right in the present. When we learn to live fully with what we have, we will see that everything is already enough. Happiness is not somewhere far off. It is in every step we take, in every moment we live authentically with ourselves. As I look back on the entire journey, I cannot deny that each moment in this life has its own value, whether they are simple moments or great challenges. Happiness, as I've shared with you from the beginning, is not something that can be measured by success or the material things we accumulate. It's not about reaching a destination, but about the journey we go through, the way we live in each moment, and how we perceive ourselves and life. You might be at an important crossroads in life or facing great challenges. You might be looking for happiness somewhere far away, but I want you to stop for a moment and think. Happiness is not something you need to search for in distant places. It's not a destination that you have to struggle to reach. Happiness is something you can feel right now in this very moment in the life you're living. Happiness is about appreciating what you have, accepting and loving what you're going through, and living authentically and truthfully with yourself. This life is not lacking in anything. Sometimes we just need to change the way we look at things to realize that everything is already enough. When you learn to live in each present moment, you will see that happiness is not something you have to wait for or search for. It's something you can create right now as long as you stop and look at what's around you. Sometimes the simplest moments are the ones that bring the greatest joy and happiness. What's important to remember is that happiness is not about escaping difficulties or challenges in life, but facing them with calmness, patience, and accepting that life is not always perfect. Every day is an opportunity for you to live more fully, to feel peace and joy from the simplest things. So the final piece of advice I want to share with you is, don't let life rush you. Don't let the burdens and worries of daily life make you forget that true happiness comes from living authentically with yourself. Don't wait for big changes to feel happy. Instead, find happiness in the small moments in life. Appreciate what you have, love what you've been through, and live sincerely with yourself. Life isn't always easy, but it is in these challenges that we learn to appreciate the simple and valuable things the most. Happiness is not a destination, it is a journey. It's not something you need to search for outside, but a feeling you can create from within. It's how you approach life, how you face the challenges, and how you embrace every single moment. As I've shared before, happiness comes from acceptance. Accepting life as it is, accepting ourselves with all our flaws and mistakes, and most importantly, learning to love ourselves. It is through this love and acceptance that we open up a new world where everything can change. You'll realize that you don't need to change the whole world to feel happy, you just need to change the way you look at it. So, in conclusion, I encourage you to stop for a moment, reflect on your life, and realize that happiness is not something you need to search for far away. It's right here in what you're living in, what you're feeling, and in what you're appreciating right now. Happiness has always been there, and it's waiting for you to recognize it. Remember, happiness is not something you need to wait for. It's a state of being that you can feel right now in the present moment when you live authentically with yourself. when you love yourself, and when you appreciate what you have, happiness will naturally follow. It's not about achieving big things or striving for things beyond your reach. It's about realizing that happiness is in the simple everyday moments of life. So my final piece of advice for you is this: happiness is a choice you can make right now. Don't let this life slip by without realizing that you can be happy today in every moment. Don't wait for everything to be perfect, because happiness is the perfection in the simple things you already have. Start now, live fully, love yourself, and find happiness in every step of your life. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that through this story, you found something in your own journey. Remember, happiness is not something you have to search for forever, but it's those moments you live authentically with yourself. I wish you peace in your heart and happiness in every step of your life. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the upcoming exciting videos.